loading, right?
I don't know what I'm saying, man. I'm looking at you navigate this shit. I'm like, wait a minute, this dude is.
Loading, right? There we
Yeah.
go. Now you're gonna hit.
I don't know
Do you
what I'm
hit a
saying, man.
double um
I'm looking at you
3 second
navigate this
delay?
shit. I'm like, wait a minute, this dude is.
Loading, right?
Yep.
There we
Yep.
go. All right. Let me testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. All right. I don't hear the second voice, so that's good. Let's play the disclaimer, brother.
Disclaimer, warning, the content will examine phenomena that some would find offensive, inappropriate, insensitive and triggering. This content neither suggests, nor implies, medical, or any other professional advice. This is a light-hearted discussion of a comedian and his therapist friend engaged in hypothetical conversation on Black mental health and race. In no way are the following views and content associated, or affiliated, with this, or any other, platform that this podcast may be accessed. All information and opinion are independent expression of free speech that a reasonable person may freely consider adapting or opposing in their own paradigm.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Peace to the God.
Peace to the universe. Trust Croy. You can see now a lot of shit goes into the background of this thing. This
Yeah.
thing of ours, brother, like the Omerta, the Italian mafia. This thing of ours. I can't see how to get my face back on the screen. And we'll figure that out. Maybe let's see if I stop sharing the screen. Can you see my face now?
Mm-hmm. I see bat phone, and then I see a phone number.
Okay, I see that too. Screen broadcasting, live broadcast to Zoom has stopped. Shit. All right. Brother, we have to talk about your op.
My what?
Your ops. You got to
My
know the
op?
street lingo, brother. See, that's your problem, brother. You've been in academics too long. You got a whole bunch brother. That's your problem right
Okay.
there.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
tried to
Well,
help you out, brother.
okay. Well, I appreciate it because these acronyms that you guys are using instead of real language is really killing me. It's like
Forgot about the drill music. You
it,
forgot the
it,
drill and everything, brother.
the drill. I don't even know what that means.
We're gonna have to spin the block, brother.
Okay, spin the block. Okay,
You
all right.
see, there's a white dude that spent the block on your op.
See, you,
See, I
you,
gotta
you,
talk in codes because we gotta be YouTube friendly. You like, share, and subscribe, brothers and
yeah. Well,
sisters.
well, I don't want you to lose me with all this vernacular
We have
that
to
you're
talk in
utilizing.
code because between you got 7 seconds to impress an audience, and they don't hear something that's about spinning the block or ops in the first 7 seconds, brother. You can lose it, and we don't need to lose any more of our people.
Well, I
But
tell you what, I
I
I
want
I I I disagree. Um, because those that are supposed to get it will get it, and those that are not are not. So, if I have to talk in a language that I can't comprehend, then I am not going to be effective in being able to give a, a a conscientious or a valid response to whatever the conversation is going to be. So I'm not going to risk being authentic at trying to be fake street or fake whatever that might be by trying to speak a lingo that I really don't speak or understand. And I'm not saying that in a bougie way, right? Because the lingo, I'm a person that's from the street, but I'm also not of the street. I don't want to mislead people. If there are potential listeners, I don't want to mislead anybody into thinking that I'm trying to be something that I'm not. Right. So
you think you better than us, brother?
I'm sorry?
You think you better than us, brother?
Well, I like that. I mean, we're having an authentic conversation. So I don't know who the other people are that do I think that I'm better than? No, but I think I think it's critical that I show up in my authentic self.
Right? Yes, sir.
I think
D, you fading out.
I don't know why.
Now you're back. You said you were trying to show up as your authentic self. Last week's podcast, you said you were trying to show up as your authentic self. Last week's podcast was about who we are and how that could determine who you become. Because a lot of people have crazy beliefs, including the guy that tried to take out a former president. This would be what is called an assassination attempt, based upon who he believed he was. I initially had and this is what I wanted your feedback on, Dr. Moore. You are listening to Black Mental Health and Race. I am your host, MF Doug. Yeah, and my co-host is Dr. Moore. Welcome back to another episode, brother.
Peace to the God.
Peace to the universe. I wanted to tell everyone that I initially thought this was some type of conspiracy that he had got shot in the ear. And I'm like, who the hell would be a professional marksman and miss from such close range? He was in less than 100 yards, brother. It's a 50-yard shot.
Why are you calling him a professional marksman?
That was my undoing right there, because conspiracists or someone harboring a conspiracy theory doesn't know all of the facts, as you would usually tell me. And he told me to get away from that type of thinking. And I agree with you, because the further we went into the investigation, or what at least they're telling us on TV, Channel Zero, is that this guy, I'm trying to pull up his name right quick. Let's go to Chat GBT. Let's see what they will do for me. Okay, I don't know that. Are you seeing the screen okay, Dr. Moore?
Well, the screen hasn't changed. I'm still saying bat phone.
Oh, okay, because I'm not sharing anymore. Who was the person that attempted to shoot Donald Trump. Let's type this in manually. Let me get your initial feedback on even hearing the news. What were you doing, brother? Were you in the barber shop? Were you fixing your car? Were you in with a client when you heard this?
I don't remember exactly when I heard this. I think did this take place on Saturday?
It sure did. July 13th, bad luck day, brother. Friday
Okay.
the 13th.
No, that was Saturday the 13th.
Oh, Saturday. You're absolutely correct, sir. My first assumption is wrong. Go ahead.
Ironically enough, it was a day I was actually not feeling well at all.
Wow.
Very under the weather that day. And so when I heard of it, I was in the process of trying to get myself together because I was not feeling well. So, and then shortly after I heard about it, then I received a text from you about it. And I was really confused because, at the time, I wasn't sure if it was true, false. I didn't know.
Yeah,
Right.
it didn't sound realistic to me.
Right. And so I did not fully accept that had happened because social media was going crazy, the news was going crazy, and I was hearing all these different things that he had been that someone had shot at him, and then first I heard someone shot at him, then I heard that a bullet grazed him, or the bullet missed him, and then pictures of him being surrounded by Secret Service, and then I saw him with his fist up and blood here is coming out of his face, and this was to me, right? Because as a person who's worked in mental health for a long time, we have a mental health hospital here, a major mental health hospital here called St. Elizabeth Hospital. And I've spent a lot of time at that mental health hospital here in Washington, D.C. And so I've seen everything from mild to the most severe mental illness, right? And I've seen everything from the criminally insane to the most docile, insane, right? And I've done that for over the last 20 years of my life, right? And so I remember the guy who shot Ronald Reagan. His name escapes me right now, but he used to be on the grounds of St. Elizabeth Mental Hospital. And the way that
get out of here in DC,
yeah,
wow.
So the way that the hospital is set up here, St. Elizabeth is a major mental health hospital, and so they had like the regular civilian people that are hospitalized there, and then we have a side called John Howard, and the John Howard side of St. Elizabeth is the criminally insane, right? So that's the side of the hospital where you are found not guilty by reason of insanity, right? So I have worked with every population of mental health in terms of severe to acute to I've just worked across the board. So anyway, the guy, his name escapes me right now, but he resides on St. Elizabeth's grounds, that mental hospital, and so I would see him all the time. Every time I would, most of the time I would go there, I would see him. He would be outside. He had a fascination with cats, so he had a ton of cats out there.
Get
And
out of
he would,
here.
yeah, and so he would be feeding the cats. He would be on the grounds outside all the time, and he had all these cats, and he loved cats, and he would be feeding the cats, and I would walk past him. Not a very big guy, but anyway, I'm digressing. But I'm just thinking about all that. But anyway, I'm saying that to say that when Ronald Reagan, when there was an attempted assassination on his life, I just remember watching how the Secret Service, grabbed him, jumped on top of him, kind of like threw him in the car, was all over him, right? But I'm watching this Donald Trump thing, and I'm like, this guy is standing up. Someone just attempted to shoot him, and he's raising a fist. I mean, in a situation like that, to me, that would be like panic. I would be thinking panic, right? And I would be thinking that the Secret Service wouldn't be standing him up; it would be laying him down, right? And they would be covering him. But it was weird that in watching that and watching them around him, but they surrounding him and it's holding him up. I thought that was very weird, right?
Right.
And then in the midst of that, to throw up a fist of power of, like, I'm still standing.
Defiance, right.
Right. That was really, really weird to me. So I was having a hard time understanding, in any given situation, right? And we were just joking a little earlier about, talking street lingo and all that. But even in, and, as a legitimate person who comes from the street, was a part of that whole street life, there wasn't ever a situation where I was on a block and gunshots came out that anybody stood there and raised a fist as if, I'm still standing. Everybody would disperse or everybody would drop down, and for cover. So nothing about what I saw was making sense to me. And nor does it still make sense to me in a situation where, and we have in DC here, at one point, we had what was called a DC sniper, right?
Right.
And
John made something. John Muhammad.
Right. But during that time, everybody was, the city, the whole city was on like high alert. And you were always afraid, when you were at the gas station or someplace like that, you just never knew. And when you were standing outside, you just never knew. But you were never standing outside, in defiance, like, I wish this person would try to shoot over here or shoot at me. Even the gangsters in the hood, you can go through any hood and there's nobody
not knowing whether he's been killed or not.
Right. Or if there's a drive-by, when there's a drive-by in any neighborhood, or any nightclub, whatever, nobody's standing in defiance, like, I'm still standing. Everybody's running. Everybody's ducking for cover. So that doesn't make sense to me.
None of it did, brother. The only thing that snapped me to reality was somebody did get killed that day. It's unclear who that person was, and additionally who the shooter was. But we are clear that this happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, July 13, 2024. The Secret Service has admitted somewhat that their protocol was broken. And if it wasn't for the local Washington, D.C. police, shout out to the Washington, D.C. police for recognizing that there's a shooter on the roof. Now, the Secret Service can't cover everything, but there were a lot of inconsistencies in the security protocol. I remember a brother doing security for Al Sharpton, and the reason I gave up that position, it was strictly voluntary. In the nation, my lieutenant and my captain said, listen, you have to give up that job of protecting Al Sharpton, because if something happens to you, then they're going to look at the Nation of Islam to retaliate. And we're not in the business of retaliation, nor getting into situations that are beyond our control. We have a high respect for security protocols, and I was breaking it by being one of the security for Al Sharpton. And Al Sharpton was our man. But we were not in a position to protect him. And sure enough, I disobeyed that command, and I stayed on a couple of more weeks. And I was working at the law firm at the time, so there were days that I couldn't be on security, but there was always more than enough people there to guard Al Sharpton. But sure enough, one of the days that I wasn't there, a lady came up and stabbed Al Sharpton right in the damn chest.
I thought it was a man.
It was a man. You're right. I forgot why I'm saying lady. Somebody got stabbed by a lady, but that was a different incident. It was a man that stabbed Al Sharpton. Mm-hmm. He wound up in a mental institution, but the story was the security breach. And what I learned from that day, even not being there, was that I was in a dangerous situation that could possibly have never let me come home again. And I, at the time, was married with a child, and I would not be able to explain, nor would anybody be able to console my ex-wife if I didn't come home. And so after that stabbing incident was when I said to myself, because I know me, I would have stepped in if I was there and took that knife. That is what the Secret Service are paid for. I think they get over $100,000 a piece for their security and service. They also do counterfeiting, but their main job is to protect that office and the man in the office, the executive commander-in-chief of the United States, in charge of the executive branch, the judicial branch. He is the CEO of the United States of America. It is very serious work. And here it is. I was blinded when I was doing security for Al Sharpton. And that was the second thing that made me reconsider But I was very good at my job because I didn't play, brother. Wasn't nobody approaching him when I was there.
I remember.
For no reason. And I don't weigh nothing but 150 pounds, but I didn't play that. I had learned from the nation, and I had learned a little bit from the streets on how you have to protect a person. Doing personal security is not an easy job. Just some random motherfucker. So come to find out, not to toot my own horn, come to find out that this guy that, according to the New York Times and other CNN, they looked up, well, who the fuck is this guy that got past Secret Service and in Washington, D.C. police and was able to climb up on the roof and do this. They thought they had a well-trained serviceman that did this, but he was only, what, a 23-year-old man of
but he was
little
white.
significance in terms of training to even accomplish that test. But it just goes to show, my story would be, it just goes to show that we can't protect nobody, even if you're paid to protect somebody. It's so easy for security to break down. That lack of anybody jumping in the way to stop those bullets is a breakdown in security. But you have to be mentally prepared to die. That is what you're being paid for. That is what you're commissioning yourself as an officer to do. That's what we were trained to do for Minister Farrakhan. We are commissioned to die rather than see the leader go out. That's our training. I don't know what type of cognitive undoing that you had to do, because I wouldn't even stop the security for Sharpton until that happened. And I like, good thing I wasn't there that day, because I would have stepped in front. I was so mentally serious about Black people and the love of Black people that I was not going to let this be a Martin Luther King situation when it comes to Al Sharpton or any of our leaders. I was just that serious. But I wondered what state of mind not only was the shooter in, but the Secret Service in not doing their job. Any comments or feedback you appreciate?
Hold on 1 second, bro.
Yes, sir. Take your time. Yeah. So if anybody's out there, you think it's easy taking care of a person to make sure that they don't get shot, it's not easy at all. And anything can happen at any given time, and you better be prepared to die. I see these type of words I'm not supposed to be saying. Just for the algorithm of YouTube. If you don't have YouTube Prime, now is the time to get YouTube Prime. You can skip commercials. Our podcast is commercial free, but you may want to do that for all of the videos that you watch. For $19 a month, you can have YouTube experience commercial free. And with that being said, now back to our regularly scheduled program. You are listening to Black Mental Health and Race. I am your host, and my co-host is Dr. Moore.
Yep. So yeah, so you is your question what type of mindset do you have to be in to be willing to die or sacrifice yourself? Is that what you're asking?
I guess what I'm asking, I didn't actually want it to be a question, but just your feedback on the mindset that you have to be in. Not more of an analysis, but rather, I know that you were in certain activities where you had to protect yourself, and you could not allow any harm to come to yourself. But I'm sure you were in life-threatening situations on a daily basis. What was your mindset like, knowing that you had to go home every day, even in the danger that you faced in DC?
Interesting, bro. I often reflect back on that mentality, and when I reflect back on that mentality, it's a little bit scary, right?
Yeah.
Because I like I know that guy, but I don't know him now, or maybe I do, but today I would probably be afraid of that guy. I would really distance myself
Right.
from that guy. But at that time, and I don't want to, I hate using this word, but when I look back at it, I was crazy, for lack of better
You are.
words, and
You all are.
I'm putting quotation marks around that
Yes,
word.
sir.
But you know, I often describe it as saying I was crazy, but I didn't know I was crazy, right? And so,
Amen,
well,
brother.
so remove the word crazy. Let me say I was so dysfunctional, but I didn't
Perfect.
know functional I was, right? So when I look back at it, like I did not, I just didn't know enough to understand the danger zone, right? Um, the danger zone was so normal, right? That um, I function in that dysfunction so that I can function, if that makes sense, right? And so the danger zone was where I lived that life, in the danger zone. So the danger zone was so normal that to not be in the danger zone would have been abnormal. So that's how I was able to do that, because I didn't see that life. I didn't see it as danger. I didn't see it as unproductive. I didn't see it as anything. I saw it as a necessity of life, right? And so that's how I lived. My goal every day when I was in the streets, I believe that police had a job, and I believe I had a job,
Right.
right? And my job was not to get caught by them, right? And so I understood that they had a job, but I had a job too, and I was as committed to my job as they were committed to their job,
Right.
right?
And
And
that's the dysfunctional part of it.
yeah, right. And so, um,
Particularly
living,
as Black men.
I mean, it's yeah. If you live in that world, right? And so I lived in that world. Live in that world. It's very normal. You know what I'm saying? It there's nothing scary about that when that's no, and that's where you live. It's only foreign to you if you don't live in that world, and you're not familiar with it, and you come over to it. Then it's a dangerous game, to go back and forward if you don't live it, right?
Right.
And so, why, like today, games because I know the commitment that I had to that lifestyle, right? And so losing my life in that lifestyle meant nothing to me, right? Because I saw it as, a part that, losing your life was a part of living that life.
Right.
So it was it was a part of it. It was a gamble,
It's our dedication to the craft.
and so the only thing that mattered is if you got through the day, if you got through the night, you survived. And if you survive, you live, to see another day, and great. I'll do this again tomorrow. I'll do this again tomorrow. And but also, when I was raised in this, I was also taught that if you second guess anything that you're about to do, then you don't. At that point, you've already lost.
Right. You could be killed.
Right. You're going to be killed at some point.
If right.
If you were,
it was either kill or be killed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
So if you were in the lifestyle, you had to think what you were about to do, you already lost. So I ain't ever have to think. It was everything is a natural instinct, right? So if I gotta hurt you, I'm not gonna think about hurting you. I'm gonna hurt you. Because if I think about hurting you, I've already lost a step. You got the ups on me.
Right.
If I gotta think about it. So I'm not gonna think about it. I'm going to do it. It's second nature, right? If I'm hustling, it's not, oh, this person is this person has a child, this person I know them, their son, or this person is a family. There's none of that. Be successful in that world and think like that, right? Everything is second nature. Everything is instinct, right? And if you don't have instinct, you're not gonna survive. My ups on you is I already know before it happens what is going to happen to you, right? I gotta know that. I gotta know beforehand. When I walk outside, whatever is about to happen, I have to be instinctively ready for that. And if I'm not, I just lost a step, and the person that I'm encountering with already has the ups on me because I thought about it. Because I thought about it. And so so my mind and my instincts was different, man. I was a different street person. If I need to get you, I got you. I wasn't ever giving you the ups on me.
Right. And I think our poverty automatically puts us in that dysfunction. The fact that there's only two routes to go out of the hood. One is school, the other is gangs. Or we didn't even call them gangs back then. It's your crew. It's your camaraderie.
Right. It's your neighborhood.
Right. These are my niggas, and nobody's fucking with them, even if I'm not in a gang, even if I'm not selling drugs, even if I'm not doing crimes. Ain't nobody fucking with my niggas. We have a silent pact with each other for our manhood, our Black manhood, that says we are not to be fucked with. And each block has that. So it's so easy to trip that wire, and a lot of things jump off in terms of killing. And that is what happens even to this day. It's generational curses that have just multiplied, and a snowball effect has occurred where now these little kids, 12 and 13, we were 12 and 13 at one time too, but they are playing for keeps. And that's why when I started the podcast, I started with the mentality and the dysfunction of us. And I tried to relate it back to this person that shot Donald Trump. Somewhat different, a matter of fact, altogether different from the type of mentality that we had. And I was trying to find the information about him that I had written down. But you know how things go. As soon as you plan something, brother, something else happens. But I'm just going to do a quick search on it. This guy that I'm seeing the picture of now, brother, he is in no way, shape, or form prepared to die. Or even he don't even look gangster. He looked like one of those Mormon kids that you see with the white shirt, short sleeves, and a Bible in his hand with a tie on. He doesn't look nothing like the part of an assassin, and he's dead now. But he killed one person by accident. Well, I don't know if it's by accident. He just started shooting. Once he saw the DC police officer stick his head up on the roof, because the crowd had been saying it a minute before the actual shooting took place. And one cop climbed up the ladder and stuck his head up there, and the guy pointed the AR-15 rifle at him. But what was so ironic about the whole thing is that the Second Amendment gives you the right to publicly speak about anything that you feel is wrong in society. You have the right to an opinion. With most governments, I won't say most governments, a lot of governments, you don't have that particular freedom. It's the one unique empowering thing about United States is that you can speak out against your government, and you could speak out against the way the government is being run. You do a lot of things just by the power of your word. And to have that compromise was a tragedy within itself. And right on the heels of the RNC Republican National Congress. We're talking about power dynamics tonight. We decided to come on the air early. We usually do a 3 weeks lapse. So we have one podcast a month. But what did you think about the Republican National Congress while I find out this assassin's name?
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Black Mental Health and Race. We are talking about the mindset of a person that is willing to risk it all. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up with Dr. Moore when we come back is our mindset growing up. And you had to be willing to take a risk at a certain age. As you get older, hopefully, that risk-taking ability and that risk-taking behavior develops more into something more useful and more positive and more productive. But at 12, from like 8 till 25, you don't have that mindset. And this guy that attempted to assassinate the president was of that mindset. He was not fully developed in his thinking, and he's now dead. What did you think about welcome back, Dr. Moore. What did you think about the Republican National Congress on the heel of this assassination attempt? Because at first I thought it was some type of conspiracy to make him look larger than life. Speaking of Donald Trump now. But when I heard that there was an innocent bystander that was killed in this assassination attempt, it got real serious for me because I was going to make a joke about it. Like, this is some fake news bullshit. But I had to caution my own steps because no one should die, not even Donald Trump. The guy's name, ironically, is Thomas Matthew Crooks. He lived 43 miles from the spot where Donald Trump was speaking, and he is a Republican conservative, according to any information that the public media has found on him. Trying to see what his age is.
20.
20. 20 years old, brother. You see the picture of him?
No, I just knew that he was 20 years old. I read some of the reports, so I just.
Wow, this look like Opie and Andy, brother. This is a pure white boy with glasses. Look like he couldn't hum. This is the guys we would pick on in school. And ironically, which has happened to a lot of these shooters, they have been picked on in school. So the fact that Donald Trump was there was not his intentional target, but it was the convenience that killing Donald Trump would have given this person, Thomas Matthew Crooks, a last name like Crooks, would have given him some type of power and significance when he felt invisible and unprotected growing up and going to school and being bullied in school. So that was the other thing I wanted you to speak about, the Republican National, before we even get to the RNC, what do they call it? The annual
convention.
Yeah, the RNC convention.
What did I think about the convention?
Just before we got to it, just the fact that this person tried to kill the president and accidentally killed a bystander.
I don't know, bro. I
like you said before we took the break, you were saying that you didn't even believe that this was true.
Yeah, I was saying that when I initially was hearing what was happening, it didn't then, and it still doesn't now, make a lot of sense to me, and in the way that it has manifested. And if I was a conspiracy theorist, then it would make sense that you would do something like that to add to the convention, going into the convention, to make this guy look like a superhero,
right?
Going into the convention, and that he survived, that he's strong, that he's powerful.
He like 50. He took 9 bullets. The guy, Crooks, shot 8 bullets.
Yeah,
allegedly.
Well,
this is actual fact.
Yeah, I shouldn't say allegedly. So again, I don't want to trivialize life or anything like that.
Right. And that's what I wanted to make clear before we continue on, because we're going to talk about the Republican National Congress, and I'm going to be negative about that. But I wanted the audience to know from a mental health standpoint, that we would never say anything, even against people that we don't like Donald Trump. I don't like. I know what type of crook he is, but I would never want to see him dead, because that could so easily have happened to Obama. That could have so easily happened to anybody that you revered. And I remembered what Elijah Muhammad told Malcolm X that day. He said, listen, I know we got beef with JFK, with the plight of Black people in North America, but don't say nothing bad about this president being assassinated.
Yeah, well, what's interesting about that is, and while Malcolm did use the terminology chickens coming home to roost, I have to echo Malcolm's sentiments in
don't do it, brother. Don't do
it. And Donald Trump has been saying
don't do
things, saying things like there were good people on both sides. You know, when you had these people with tiki torches, and he's telling, you know, police officers.
I just gave you a whole speech not to do it.
No, I'm just, bro. No. What I'm saying is, you know, here's a guy who has been promoting violence, saying, you know, with the whole insurrection thing of what happened on January 6th, you know, telling police officers, you know, to be, you know, more vigilant, you know, against people. Here's a person who has been, you know, revving up people, telling the Proud Boys, stand back, but stand aside. You know what I'm saying? He's been, you know, here's a person who's, you know, been, you know, calling football players SOBs and get them off the field. He's a person who's been advocating violence himself, right? And so I'm simply saying, and I'm not saying that anybody should die, but what I am saying is Malcolm, in Malcolm's speech, and what you just said in Malcolm's speech about the chicken coming home to roast or to roost. I mean, that's how this feels to me, right? Because here's a person who's advocating, if I don't win, there's gonna be bloodshed. It's gonna be this and this. You know, it's just all of this stuff of revving people up about violence. It sounds like what Malcolm said is a case of the chickens come home to roost. And I'm not saying that in a way that you know, I feel like something bad should happen to someone. I'm saying that in a sense, I'm saying that in a way that, you know, Malcolm said, it's kind of a dose of your own medicine.
Indeed. The fact that the NRA has not said anything about this guy, Thomas Matthew Crooks, went and bought a AR-15 out of the store. He doesn't have to have any credentials or no check into his background and mental health. Does he have any issues with mental health? Nothing. Here's one that slipped through the crack, but our Second Amendment gives us the right to bear arms, and our First Amendment gives us the right to free speech. And the two biggest amendments to the Constitution were face to face with each other July 13, 2024. And Donald Trump held up his fist like we did in the Olympics in 1964, brother, the three brothers that held up their fist. And Donald Trump held up his fist in defiance July 13, 2024, brother. That has got to give him another step up in this race. And so I think we'll move on to The
I don't get.
Republican National Congress
I
convention.
I don't think it gives them a step up. I think it gives them a step down.
I'm going to let you elaborate on that, brother. Go right ahead. I want to
Well,
hear it.
the reason why I say it gives
We
them
got to talk about Sleepy Joe too.
well, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna entertain that acronym, with Joe Biden, because I believe that saying that just feeds into a narrative, and it's a narrative that Donald Trump initiated. So I'm so I'm not gonna feed into that narrative. But you asking me to elaborate on why I say that it's a step down.
Yeah.
I think if you have any moral compass, I don't know how you see it as a step up as opposed to a step down.
He defied the odds.
How so?
Is a person that was out to kill him, and he survived. He was almost a martyr, like Malcolm X. He's
but hold up, but stop, no, stop. Do not put him in the, don't mention Donald Trump, because it just takes away from the life of Malcolm X or any real martyr to say
Can I
that.
give you the context? Because I'm not comparing him to Malcolm X. You got the wrong context. I am saying that I revere Malcolm X. You revere Malcolm X. But other people don't like him. But we don't care if they don't like Malcolm X. He was our hero, our champion. I think now I'm gonna give you the analogy. Here's the analogy.
Okay.
There are people in the United States of America, brother, and not even you can deny this. There is a majority vote of people that think that Donald Trump, even though he didn't win a second term in office, is a champion, is a hero, and somebody that should be protected. There's a mindset in the conservative right mentality that is dysfunctional, but it is thriving in its dysfunction, politically speaking. So I definitely not comparing him to Malcolm X, but I'm comparing the sentiment that we hold for Malcolm X to the sentiment that people hold for Donald Trump. Even if we don't like him, there's enough people in the United States of America, and especially after an attempted assassination, brother, that thinks that this man is next to God. Last week we talked about who do you believe in? There's people that are willing to die for Donald Trump in the same way we were willing to die for Al Sharpton, Louis Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan, or Malcolm X. People love this man, brother. You cannot deny that.
And I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, from our conversation, I would not. I would prefer that we not put him in the same conversation. Right?
Understood and agreed.
Okay. All right. So while we can admit that there are a bunch of bumbling, stumbling idiots, while we can admit that there's 85% of the population that's deaf, dumb, and blind, right? So while I understand that there are people that will be willing to give their life for Donald Trump, I'm not going to put him, in the category of a martyr that I would put, our great sin. He falls in a whole different category. If anything, I could mention him in the same category that I could mention Jim. What's the guy named Jim Jones? Who took all those people to Ghana?
Jim Jones, Reverend
Jim Jones, or Timothy McVeigh. Someone he falls in that category to me, where McVeigh wanted to start a race riot. Jim Jones wanted to brainwash people. I see him in that category, and I can mention him in the same breath that I mentioned those people, but not in the same breath or not in the same conversation that I would mention our real martyrs, because he doesn't fall under that category. And I think that anybody that attempts to do that is a person that's misled or uneducated, right, about who real martyrs are.
Agreed. What was your sentiment on the Republican National Congress? I refuse to watch shit like that, but
I thought it was a clown show. You had someone.
Why I refuse to watch it.
You had someone like an Amber Rose, right?
Oh my God, we got to talk about her, brother. Go right ahead.
You had someone like an Amber Rose. Talk about she felt at home with this Republican Party. Here's a person
they're one of us.
Here's a person,
I'm one of y'all. She had to convince them of that.
But here's a person.
She's the same person that did the slut walk.
So that's my point. So here's a person.
Conservatives don't want nobody like that. And forgive me for interrupting you. Go ahead, brother.
And so that's my point. My point is, here's a person a couple years ago that was just talking about women's rights, right? In terms of abortion rights and women having freedom, and and women being able to do X, Y, and Z, and a walk of shame, a slut walk, and all the rest. All this woman live, and then she joins the Donald Trump team, who wants to take all those rights away from women.
Like you said, this is a person who not only doesn't have the knowledge of who she is as a woman, she don't have too much smart politically. She doesn't have too much savvy.
If you ask me what my opinion was of the convention, of the Republican convention,
you're right.
Right, and so I'm adding when I talk about somebody like Amber Rose or Hulk Hogan, there were no real agendas being spoken Republican convention. There was nothing. There were no political agendas being addressed. It was like a clown show. It was like a circus.
A celebrity influencer.
Right.
Get out of here.
That was a clown show to me. That was a clown show. And then Donald Trump endorsing his VP. This dude called Donald Trump.
We're gonna get into that. We gotta get into that.
This dude called Donald Trump a Hitler. So if you ask him again,
I get it, brother.
What was my perspective about the Republican convention? I thought it was a clown show. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, last one of those people were complete hypocrites to me, as it relates
to.
But
now, could you speak to the thing although the Democratic National Convention hasn't happened yet? Am I correct?
Right, that's correct.
can we speak about, and I mean, be honest with me, brother. Be absolutely as honest as you possibly can. I know where your allegiance is, and I understand it, because the opposite of any faith in Biden is an automatic vote for Trump. So I understand where you're coming from, but can we talk about this honestly? Is this the best that the Democratic Party has to offer America?
Look, if you're asking my honest opinion is this: is I think the Party and the Republican Party, I think both of them have the horrible of the horrible, right? And so it, much as you can not Biden, right, in terms of being the Democratic Party nominee, you can knock him. Look at what the Republicans have. So to me,
your voice is fading in and out.
I'm not sure what's happening because
Now you did. You may
okay.
be turning away from the mic or something.
No, I don't know what happened. I was just talking.
Now you're clear as day.
Okay, so I think
It went out again. You think the battery's dead on your mic?
I can switch it. Hold on.
Yes, sir. You're listening to Black Mental Health and Race. We're going to get Dr. Moore's opinion on a realistic opinion, a real honesty about the Democratic National Convention upcoming. And we do have an agreement on the Republican National Convention, and it's a travesty. It's a ridiculousness, if that is even a word, that culminated from the assassination into this party of defiance. But it's convinced a lot of people in the hills and north sides of North America that he is the living God. That he is someone to believe in. And speaking of Donald Trump, no one wants to see Donald Trump or anyone suffer any violence. I need to get the name of the man that lost his life. Rest in peace to that person that was shot by Thomas Matthew Brooks. Pay reverence to his sacrifice for the United States. Just standing at a Trump rally. We don't want to see none of that happen. We're not that type of people. We do talk politics and we do talk religion every now and again, and we do have disagreements in terms of that politics and religion. That's why we try to avoid it when we talk about Black mental health and race, because these are polarizing subjects. Race is a polarizing subject too, but if you try to ignore it altogether, there is no way that you can come together as a community, as a collective, for a better world. And I don't think we can save the world, as Dr. Moore always rebukes me, and rightfully so. But I do think we need to have honest conversations. Dr. Moore, are you back?
Yep.
Now I can hear you. Go right ahead, brother. What was your honest opinion of the upcoming Democratic National Convention and the two candidates that are forefront? We have Kamala Harris as VP and Joe Biden as president. and to be president-elect?
Well, I think it's a sad state of affairs on both sides, if you ask me. You have Joe Biden, who's really up in age. You have a black female, Kamala Harris, who I like, but I don't think that I don't think that she could beat a Trump in a presidential election. But while I think that Democrats have not done a great job or a good job in terms of choosing or vetting a different candidate at this point, I also, on the other side, look at what the Republican Party is offering up, right, in terms of a Donald Trump. So if Donald Trump is the best that they have to offer, and the Democrats, Joe Biden is the best that they have to offer, well, I'm easily choosing. I mean, them, in my opinion, are not the best. I'm not going to use the word horrible, but I think both of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, I think it speaks volumes to where we are in this country in terms of having presidential candidates. But this is what we have right now. And both of them, in my opinion, are horrible people. But if I have to vote for what's there, Biden. Because what I understand about 2025, what I have seen with Trump and what he's done with the Supreme Court judges, what I've seen him do with women's rights and abortion, what I've seen him do with affirmative action, what I see him doing with giving police complete immunity. I just think going forward, what I see him doing in terms of a democracy is horrible and dangerous and scary. And so what I see him doing in terms of voting rights, what I see him doing in terms of education, student loans, all of what I see him doing in terms of tax cuts, to the rich. I just think that what Donald Trump's administration would do for the black community would devastate them over the next 20, 30, 40 years. And that's very scary and that's very dangerous to me. And so the Democratic Party, and I'm really, really frustrated with them and them asking Joe Biden to maybe step aside at this point. If that was, to me, if that was going to be the case, then that should have been the case 3.5 years ago. He came in, they should have already been vetting someone else for where we are right now.
You just can't surprise the American people like that.
And so to see some of them abandon him after one debate.
11:55 at the hour 11:55. It's almost midnight in this race, brother.
It's disgusting to me. And not only is it disgusting to me but you have someone like Trump who has
but it's not unwarranted.
Well, let me finish my point. Someone like Trump who has 34, 37 felony convictions, of dismoral conduct. And none of them have said, okay, let's step aside. They don't care regardless of what this guy has done. Supporting him 100%. And I'm saying to the Democratic Party that it is embarrassing that all the success that Joe Biden has done in the years that he's been president, to jump ship on him for those Democratic leaders that have done that, I think is horrible. It's horrible and disgusting.
Well, in our final segment, brother, we're going to talk about the counseling that we need as people that support Biden to get through this last couple of months. November is right around the corner, brother, and beyond. I think that's where I'm going to need your expertise, because we talk about tragic situations all the time. This presidency, return to the office of Donald Trump, is already showing from the assassination attempt that this country is going right back into chaos. And I would like you to speak to, in a few minutes, how do we deal with it going forward as a collective? I know you don't like collective too much, but we're going to have to deal with whatever the American people decide, whether it be Joe Biden or Donald Trump becoming the next president of the United States. How are we going to deal with the mental shift, the mental disappointment in either candidate as a people, as United States citizens? Let me briefly say, rest in peace to Corey Comparatori. I think that's like an Italian name. Comparatori. Corey Comparatori. Rest in peace. Thank you for your service. He was a firefighter, brother, and he lost his life in the crowd supporting Donald Trump at a rally in Pennsylvania. Politics is a dangerous game, can be a dangerous game. It can also be one that's going to be mentally taxing. But this Thomas Matthew Crooks was like you and I, brother, not comparing him to us in terms of street credibility, but as I'm not comparing Malcolm X to Donald Trump in assassination credibility or any type of merit. But what I am saying is that this guy Crooks wanted to be seen. And it didn't matter who was in Pennsylvania that day. The opportunity met with whoever was there of popularity. It could have been Biden. We are thankful more people didn't die that day. There was something about this young man, Crooks, that was off kilter. And hopefully we focus more on that and the innocent life that was lost than the hoopla behind the Republican National Convention. And hopefully we can get through the whatever the decision is in November and how we carry forward as a people of the United States, black or white, rich or poor, going forward. I'm going to leave you with the last word on any and all of this, brother. You're listening to Black Mental Health and Race. I am your host, MF Doug, AF. Last word to you, Dr. Moore.
I don't know that I have anything else to add. I think that we are in a critical situation in terms of what we have to offer in terms of who is going to navigate and guide the country in the next 4 years. Right now, it looks like we have Biden and Trump, and it is a poor um, display of leadership, I think, on both sides, Democrat and Republican. But I had if I had to vote today, then I'm gonna vote for Biden. But I'm not voting for Biden because I necessarily like Biden or have to be in love with Biden. And maybe Republicans aren't voting for Trump because they have to be in love with him. But I think that Biden best represents my interests and the interests of people of color. Um, I think that Biden gives us the best chance of um, countering Project 2025. I think Biden gives us the best opportunity for new Supreme Court justices. Um, I love what he did with Kamala. I love what he did with what's his name, Katanji. I can't remember her last name, but putting her on the Supreme Court. But I think it's important that we are mindful of what can happen, over the next 4 to 8 years, depending on who the president is. And I think um, our best interest at this point is to have a Democratic um, president in office at this time. And I think that anything contrary to that is going to set us back another 20, 40, maybe even 50, 60 years.
Indeed, brother. It's a sad sentiment. It's one that we can all use a little therapeutic, comforting word that no matter what happens, we survive as a nation. Briefly, I want to say that the main Project 2025 document states, at least from a conservative value point of view, the conservative promise outlines four main aims: restoring the family as the centerpiece of American life. Uh-oh, brother. Dismantling administrative state. Uh-oh, brother. Defending the nation's sovereignty. Uh-oh, brother. And borders. And securing God-given individual rights to live freely. Now, we spoke about these gods last week. I implore you to go back if you have not heard our little discussion on who is God, and I implore you to go and listen to that podcast. You can catch this podcast wherever you catch your other podcasts at. I don't see us on iTunes anymore, but I don't see any podcasts on iTunes, brother. But there is an app for all your podcast needs. You can also catch us on Spotify. You can do a search in Google, hashtag BMHR, B as in Brian, M as in Martin, H as in Harold, and R as in Ronald. BMHR. And that will bring up any and everything on Black mental health and race, the show, and on myself and Dr. Moore. For a little side note, brother, I'll let you talk about Project 2025 and how it may impact us as Black people. As other marginalized groups, I do understand that women's right to an abortion will be struck down if this project comes to fruition. All of the gay people is another marginalized group. Your rights and rights to surgery and other things, medical attention, may be struck down if this project is implemented. This is just from my little understanding of Project 2025. Now, it has a lot of wholesome white stuff in there, brother. We don't want to go against this wholesome whiteness like Elmer's glue, brother. This is the glue that keeps this MAGA together. I'll give you the last word on that, and then we'll end this show.
Well, I'm not gonna act as if
Yes,
I
sir.
am an authoritarian on Project 2025. There's a lot. I just know that there's a lot of different things in that Project 2025 that will affect Black people in the Black community in a devastating way. And I think that having Donald Trump as a presidential nominee, a potential president, I think that he will enforce a lot of this Project 2025 and what their goals are. I kind of see Project 2025. I see it kind of like a new name or this disguise for the Tea Party. And what the Tea Party had.
Yes, sir. They said it started with Ronald Reagan, so this project has already been in full effect, but it's only been a quarter appreciated so far. And whoever is in office in 2025 may get to put in more of those restrictions. And you know that
or take away those restrictions,
right?
Or be able to block
them. For us, it mainly is a way to keep us in control. But you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that politics is good, but nationhood is better. Now, you don't have to give up one to do the other. We need to fight on all fronts. So if you on one front and I can help you out in any way I can, I will try my best. But we need to have a collective mindset of protecting what we do have. And it ain't much, but we are thriving as Black people, but not as a whole. I think we can do better.
Yeah. And I am hopeful.
Amen, brother. Any other thing you wanted to talk about before we go out of here?
No, bro. This is it's been enough to make my head ache.
Wow. You got to take care of yourself, brother.
Absolutely.
You had it for more than a couple of days?
No. No, I'm just saying that just the conversation about what we've been having. Right. It's enough to be.
All right. So 2 podcasts in a row, we talked about things that neither one of us want to talk about. But I think it's important that we not ignore it, or we'd be hypocrites to what we say, that race should not be ignored. It's not a popular subject because you have to deal with some truths that most people are not even mentally prepared to deal with or even admit to, that there is a problem with race in America, and to have some type, that's what we got to talk about, brother. Reparations. I think the only way that the Democratic Party can get Black people back on board after we've seen this fiasco in this whole year, the fact that this whole debate thing has been skirted by both parties is one thing, but the fact that it has taken so long for the Democratic Party to get themselves together and get a viable candidate out there is, like I said about security, somebody has dropped the ball, brother. Somebody did not do their homework. They should have seen this coming 2 years ago. The campaigntees start campaigning after in the third year. This should have been apparent then.
What,
Joe
reparations?
Biden was falling down the steps of that presidential plane, Air Force One. Then, brother, somebody dropped the security protocol for the Democratic Party.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. I think I disagree. In that.
Oh, so what I was saying was about reparations. So you can include that in your response.
No, well, I would. Yeah. Okay. So if you watch media, social media, in the news, depending on what you're watching, it gives you much of what you want to see. And so, people have watched, the media, social media have played that clip so much that in their mind, you see Joe Biden as sleepy, fumbling, old guy. But Donald Trump is a fat, McDonald eating, only 3 years younger than Joe Biden. He's not running, playing basketball. He ain't, he's not the most healthiest person himself. Right. And so I just I feel some kind of way when I hear people talk about Joe Biden being old, as if Trump is like 10 years younger. It's confusing to me. And I feel like when I hear that, I feel like, people have just bought into a narrative that Joe Biden is this old sleepy dude because they just saw this over and over and over and over on social media. But there's no records of Trump's physical health or anything. And when I look at Trump, and look at Biden, if I had to choose the two from a health perspective, why would I choose Trump, big, fat, old? He looks extremely unhealthy to me. But, I just feel like people just buy into this narrative that Biden is this old dude that can't remember anything. But Trump doesn't say anything of significance or remember anything, or it's not like he's this scholastic person. And so both of them, if I'm looking and I'm comparing these two old white men, I think psychologically, when it comes to Black people, it's like, who's a better slave master?
Time will tell, brother. Anything on reparation, I think that would give the Democratic Party an edge. However, if they offered reparations as part of the Biden ticket to presidency again, re-election. However, I do want to say that Black people are barking up the wrong tree Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us you don't have reparations if you don't have land. Not that you can't get it. It's just that what you get is going to be like what the Indians got for Manhattan. When they sold Manhattan, it was for $24 worth of trinkets, brother. If they give us $24 million and we have no land, no basis for sovereignty, no basis for self-determination, self-respect, self-reliance, we have no reparations. We can't talk about reparations in terms of monetary. We need to talk about it in terms of land, meaning property set aside for Black people, and we need to talk about it in terms of education and taxes. We shouldn't be paying taxes, and we shouldn't be paying for tuition. All of that should be free for the next 100 years, no matter whether you came from Africa and never experienced slavery, or whether you've been born in this country under the racist doctrine that we had to endure for over 400 years of ancestors. None of that should matter. What should matter is free education, free tax, and land set aside, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us. That is the basis of reparations. Not everybody get a stimulus check. Even say that they gave every Black person $100,000. How quickly would that be back in the hands of the U.S. government, brother?
Right. And so I'm listening to you talk about reparations, and while I agree that we should have reparations, but I equate that kind of to knowledge of self with no discipline. Right.
Speak on it, brother.
If we're gonna talk about giving Black people reparations, but we're not gonna teach them discipline, what's the point of giving reparations if there's no discipline?
We're gonna give it right back.
Right. I mean, it's like every Sunday and asking for tithing,
You can get
right?
you a Maybach, brother.
Right. So I feel like, how and why are you asking people in church to do tithing, but you aren't teaching budgeting? Right. So how are we talking about reparations when people don't know how to budget?
Because it's popular to Black people.
Right. Well, I mean, but Black people don't even know.
The offer would be a carrot, like you hold you tie a string to the horse's neck with the carrot dangling in front of him, and that's how you get him to move forward, brother.
Yeah, I get that, but moving forward doesn't necessarily mean progress.
As the Minister Kevin used to say, all progress is change, but all change ain't progress.
Right. And so, right. So I just want to be mindful or careful. While I agree with reparations, what I'm not clear about is how we defining reparations. Right. And so you use the terminology a few minutes ago, like land, right? And I was listening, and I thought about it as I was listening to you, and I'm thinking about like the community that I live in now, and the community that I grew up in, right? The community that I grew up in, while we didn't own the land, we valued the land. We would be willing to die,
right,
for the land, for the hood.
Like we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, what is going to make you be willing to die for something?
So people, I don't care where you are, whether it be New York, whether it be DC, whether it be South Carolina, you know, everybody can represent their hood. And so, but if a hood or you have land and someone gives that to you, it's a different regard for that when someone gives you something than when you earn something, right? So walk out of right now, and there's something that I think doesn't look right, doesn't feel right. I'm probably going to call the police, right? To say, you know, this doesn't feel safe. This doesn't look safe. Can you come and investigate this? What I'm probably not going to do if I pay a mortgage is I'm probably not going to go outside every night, have people over and drink and leave bottles, you know, smoke weed, all that shit every night. Bring chairs. We love that, and I want to be very careful, right, in saying this because I come from this, right?
Right.
But in the hood, man, we celebrate hanging out every night, particularly, you know, a warm night like tonight would have been, drinking, smoking. We'd have had
all night long.
I don't know,
with
probably
that reparations money, brother.
20 bottles, 20, 30 bottles. You know, I don't know how many cases of beer.
Roast the
you know,
pig.
every night. You know, it's reparation party, right?
Like
But
Juneteenth.
you know,
Niggas getting shot at Juneteenth.
but when you pay a mortgage, when you work to earn something, it's a different mentality. So I'm saying that.
Well, that's the part of conservatism you and I would both agree upon. But we had to develop this type of mindset because us from 8 to 25, we was on a crash course with death or prison, brother. We had to come and develop ourselves. And that is the part of conservatism that I agree with. We all need a place that we can call our own and something that we can live for and perhaps even die for.
And with that point, bro, I'm gonna let you take it home and we can close it out.
And that's it, brother. If you ain't learned nothing in the last 2 hours, why we'll both lose money. I ain't got nothing else to say, brother. I do want to say something about Juneteenth because a lot of you Negroes are too exuberant, too happy, too overstimulated for shit that don't count for nothing. I don't care what you want to celebrate. I ain't even gonna stop you. Christmas, Juneteenth, 4th of July, celebrate it all. But if you can't even maintain your own discipline, as Dr. Moore was just saying to you, at a Juneteenth celebration where niggas get shot up, then there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with your mentality. There's something wrong with your thinking. And we need to wake more of the young people up, especially the college-bound youth. We have to become the majority in this country. We are not the majority now. Our chaotic brothers and sisters are running this damn asylum that we find ourselves in the hills and cave sides of North America. Let's do better. Let's multiply our numbers and make this a better country for Black people and people in general. All marginalized groups should have a say-so in this government and should not be mistreated for any reason. We know that because as Black people, we've been going through this for 400 years. We don't want to say, hey, this is only for us. But before we can help them, we must help ourselves. And we do that through self-determination. We're not going to get a dime from the government. If you wait on that, you're waiting on the next election to help you out with your self-determination going forward. I don't care who becomes the president. We should stand on our foundation as Black people that we will deal with whosoever is in office. And I'll leave it at that, my brother. You've been listening to Black Mental Health and Race. I am your host, MF Doug. My co-host is Dr. Moore. Take us home, brother.
We have been taken home by MF Doug, and I will leave it at that.
Yes,
Peace
sir.
to the universe.
Peace to the God. I'll see you in about 3 weeks. Let everybody know the number wasn't working tonight. I got to figure out which one of these wires is going wrong. We have the number up there on the screen, but it wasn't working tonight. I'll see if there was anybody even listening to us, brother. But peace to the universe.
Yep. Peace, bro. If we need to talk to me afterwards, just give me a hit.
I'll call you back.
Okay.